Hey guys, and welcome to the finale of Let's Play Shadow Hearts. Last time we defeated the Messiah in Albert. This time, we need to go over a couple things because they don't let me go over my equipment and change it in between attempts there. So let's go and show you what I had set up there for Alice and for Zhu Zhen. I didn't want to spoil the fact that I was using two different parties for two separate boss fights ahead of time, which is why I didn't. And that's kind of why I have Yuri with the Belt of Thor, even though it's not the best thing for him in the first half, because I have to get around the SP lowering. You don't need to worry about SP lowering in the second part. So I have Alice set up with the Crucifix, Warlock Earrings, and Cotton Underpants. We have a Diamond Ring to cut all classes of damage except non-elemental, Warlock Earrings, and a Crucifix on Zhu Zhen. Now the Cotton Underpants we got from the final lottery against Roger, and then I never went over them. They cut physical damage by 50% and are only equipable by Alice. What more can be said indeed? Now, this is the second item other than the black satin pants that can actually change her animation in her ability Advent. So yeah, no more pink. Protecting against physical damage is good with her. Protecting against... I would give her the, protect against all elemental damage if I could as well. The only other thing you may want to try using is... where about we? I know it's around here somewhere. Is the Crystal Ring, because there are a couple of non-class damages that the final boss can do, but a lot of it is going to be elemental based. So we want to be prepared for that. Anyway, let's get back to the boss. Alright, it's time for the finale, and of course we're doing battle on top of a giant judgment ring. Why not? This is Metagod, the true final boss of the game. Begins with Time of Judgment. Time of Judgment is not fun. Does non-elemental damage and drains away MP. Not something we like to see. And you suck. Now, the first thing you would think is like, well, I've got the damn Seraphic Radiance, I'm going to use this thing, and I'm going to kick the crap out of this final boss. So I'm going to go do For Everyone, buff up, and then we'll be ready to go. Sounds like a great plan. Let's do that. Gotta have our buffs going, and now we're ready to take this guy down. No, he's not that fast. Light of Deprivation. He counters every use of For Everyone. So, yeah, not really the way we want to start this fight off. Okay, now we can actually fight this guy for real. Now the thing is, I was actually testing it out, and Light of Deprivation is used on not just For Everyone, as it's said in pretty much any walkthrough, but it uses it on any buff you use with any fusion. So there's no point in using anything that buffs you any amount. I was actually planning on skirting around this by using Zernobog to boost my special attack for my other two characters, and then, disembodying that one and moving on. But no, that doesn't work, so no way of cheating around it. Seraphic Radiance has the best stats, so we're just going to fuse into that, and it gives us the ability to heal a little bit with Forge Moral if we want to do that. Now, the game doesn't cheese you and say you can't use anything against this guy. You could use a Mind's Eye and a 7th Key and some other things and completely wipe the floor with this guy. That's not for today. That is actually scheduled for a bonus episode that's going to be a little bit into the future. And no matter how many days elapse between this episode going up and when that eventually happens, I haven't forgot about it. I have it set up for a specific point, and you'll know why when we get to that point. So we need some healing. Now, I had said earlier that I was going to put Sandalphon on, and then I decided against it because I basically wanted it for healing, but then again, I have this, so why the hell would I want anything else? So, Advent is pretty much your friend here, as well as Arc. Use whichever one you need if you can hit the ring, and Zhuzhen is going to do the Flames of Fudo. Now, I've been playing around with the Judgment Ring so long, doing all these other different things and slowing it down, that I'm not used to the normal speed. But anyway, this is going to be a long combat, and the reason for that is, well, we have to wait for all the different animations to go. Now, a number of this guy's attacks, by the way, Meta God, 12,500 HP, we're a little tiny bit of the way through already. He can use a number of different abilities. He's non-elemental, but he can use elements from pretty much every single one, any single element. So anytime we need to heal, we might as well use for tomorrow, because then we can deal damage as well, and that keeps Alice around for attacking, as well as being able to use Arc if we run really low on HP. The other option is you could have Yuri go with his normal attacks, and you could do some stuff that way. It's up to you. There's the perfect. That's better. But yeah, he has elements from each different type. It's really important to have your character's ultimate armors because they protect you from two different elements. You'll notice, if you were paying attention, the panties are now white instead of pink because of the cotton underpants. They'll be black if you have the black satin panties, which I can't get yet. But anyway, yeah, the abilities that he can use are all the different elements, so we want the ultimate armors, I almost missed the first one there, to protect against as many elements as possible. Now, Zhuzhen has additional protection with the, I think it was the diamond ring or the crystal ring, or whichever one he happens to have on, protects against all elements except non-elemental. Alice has extra protection against physical attacks. So I would prefer you to the physical attacks on Alice. Thank you very much. Because pretty much anytime anyone takes any damage in this fight, we are going to need to, heal. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. Well, fine, we're gonna do Arc. You basically just need to keep everybody alive in this fight, and Arc is your backup plan if you're not using Yuri the way I am. It's entirely up to you, The fight's going to last a long time because of the animations, but just so you know, you don't have to do it this way. You could do it any way you wanted. You could use physical attacks. You can't do any buffs, unfortunately, but anyway. So yeah, he does have some other attacks, and we will see them over time, but primarily his elemental ones are Verdant Abyss, Black Abyss, Blue Abyss, Yellow Abyss, White Abyss, and Scarlet Abyss. Those represent all the different elements in the game, all 6 of them. He'll use those interchangeably all the time. Yuri and Alice are both protected against darkness because of their armors, and Zhuzhen is protected against it because of his equipment. And yeah, that does a little bit of SP damage, but for the most part, I'm not really worried about it because I'm going to have to use Pure Extract in this fight regardless, and the other 2 are probably going to need the same treatment at some point in the fight. And I don't think I'm weak enough now that I really need to worry about it, so let's go for Advent. I do have Resurrection if I need to bring anyone back, but I'll probably just use my items because the lower recovery time. But yeah, long animations aside, the fight is pretty straightforward. It's just about keeping up with the damage and keeping your eye on your SP and your MP, because you're going to need to restore most of them multiple times. It's not a short fight. And more flames. And I may not go for as many perfects as I normally would, just so that I don't miss and extend the fight too much longer than it needs to be. But yeah, 12,500 HP. You can imagine how long this is going to take, dealing about 1,500 damage a round. So yeah, we're looking at 12, maybe 13 rounds with the need to heal being put in there. All right, yeah, let's do that. Oh, that was only a hit? That sucks. Thought that would have been at least a good. Oh well. But yeah, it doesn't fully heal us, but it does usually good enough that we're going to be close to maximum, which is all we really need, because the amount of damage output this guy has isn't gigantic, it's just consistently high. Unfortunately, there's no way to skip the animations. They just, they take quite a while at this point, and we don't really need to watch them multiple times. I wonder if they could implement that into an RPG where the first time you use an ability in a fight, you see the animation, and then subsequent times it just says what it is, and then that's it. Now, one other thing here, where is it? No, not Tea of the Holy One. The Alchemist's Water. We're probably going to be using that or the Eye of Ouroboros. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get very many throughout my travels. Normally I get more than that. It's unfortunate because I'm going to want to use those. But I guess we'll go with an Alchemist's Water this time. And that will allow us to restore a little bit of MP and some SP at the same time. And then on their next turn, I'm not going to worry so much about the SP, since the SP should still be good, and I'll just use a mana extract instead. Or maybe I'll use Fruit of the Yggdrasil if I need HP at the time. Time of Judgment is unfortunate, but I needed to heal my MP anyway. That's actually really bad because, yeah, that's very bad. Where's that fruit? Oh, wow, I don't have any of those either. Well, I didn't get any of the really good ones this time, did I? Crap. Mana extract on Alice it is. That's kind of unfortunate, but we need art, so yeah, let's do that. It'll take me a few rounds to get back on my feet, I think. This guy has less physical defense than special defense. The main reason why I brought these characters is because even though he has less physical defense, it's just, he's not all that good. What's the word I'm looking for? No, go back up. Mana extract, Fury. They just don't seem to do that much damage, bringing Keith and Margaret in here, which I did in my test run. I brought different sets of characters and played around with this fight a couple different times. Would you stop trying to kill my MP? It's kind of annoying. Normally he doesn't spam this much. He just uses his Abyss abilities over and over and over again, which is why I equipped my Elemental Protection. I would have equipped non-Elemental Protection if I'd known you were going to do this all day. Let's see. Let's do this one. Really got to wait a little bit on that last hit there. Yeah, doing well in this fight is more about the preparation and what you're allowing yourself to do. If you allow yourself to use whatever they are, let's see, where is it? Alchemist's Water. There we go. If you allow yourself to use a Mind's Eye, it speeds this fight along. You can have Fury go the physical route instead, which is what I did in my test run, and it's a better route in general. It's a much faster, and you don't have to worry about having anyone else heal. Just have Alice heal every single round if you need to. Zhu Zhen will do healing. This will reduce somebody down to 1 HP. So there's that. Yeah, we'll just have you use this again to heal there. There. Waited long enough this time. Not quite long enough for the perfect, but at least long enough for a good. Let's see. Here's Advent. Do some more damage. Now, if Yuri doesn't have to heal, he can do either his physical attack if you want to go that route, or he could use a crap ton of MP and do For the Children, or whatever his final ability is called, and you're pretty much guaranteed to do max damage with that if you want to. Of course, max damage being 999 in this game. Just keep an eye on his HP, or his MP, because you don't want him to run out. But you are going to have to do a lot of healing of your MP in this fight. His different Abyss abilities also have a chance of inflicting a status effect, so just kind of be aware that that is there. I'm not sure if it's random or if each element has a different status effect that they'll inflict. I haven't looked into it that far. It's not that important, because you're just going to equip the Crucifix anyway. We've got 5 of the damn things, so... And more healing. And more Advent. And I got a perfect. Look at that. But yeah, as long as you're keeping an eye on your stats, you shouldn't be in too bad a shape. You'll have some close calls, but for the most part, you should be able to balance, you know, which abilities you need to use at which time and heal people at the appropriate moment. As long as you're thinking a little bit ahead and not going, it's like, oh, look, everyone has no MP, like I did earlier in the fight. You know what I'm going to do, actually? I think it's a better option to use a Mana Extract on Yuri, so that, because chances are this guy's going to get his turn next, and then I can choose whether I want to have Yuri attack, or, in this case, heal. Other than that, there really isn't anything else really important to say about this fight. Oh, I missed. Well, arc it is. That's the good thing about our backup. Arc is very, very easy to do, so it's pretty much a guaranteed hit as long as your ring isn't like cut in half and you know, on double speed at the same time or something like that. But yeah, crucifixes are pretty much a must for this fight. Make sure you use them. Make sure you hit the Judgment Ring too. So yeah, I'm hoping he'll do blue or red or white or dark elemental attacks. So when he does green being wind or earth being yellow, that's not as good for me because I can't protect from it as much. Really? I got a hit there? Ah, well. It's the longest boss fight in the game if you do it this way, by a large stretch. But pretty much all boss fights in this game can be nuked pretty quickly with the right setup. And I will end up showing that off as well. It's something that I want to show when I show the separate ending for you know, what happens if we don't activate the ending that we did here. If we don't activate it, I'll basically show all the cutscenes leading up to that happen after each of those subsequent boss fights, the Guardians as I call them. And if after that, I will show a refight against this guy doing things the fast way. And yeah, then we'll get to see the ending of that. How many rounds have I been in this fight yet? I gotta be closing in on killing this guy sooner or later. I'm not sure why Yuri's fusion here. This is the only one he gets where it's actually different from the versions that we fight, because the versions that we fight have a weird looking head, and well, this one just looks like a Yuri head on, you know, the same looking body that we were fighting when we fought the fusion before. Oh, that was way ahead of time. Oh well. But yeah, don't think this is the only way of doing this fight. It definitely isn't. And you need some MP. Mana extract it is. I'm not sure if he's sagging or if that's just his normal animation. I wasn't really paying attention earlier in the fight. That's the thing with the sagging animations is I kind of like the way it's implemented in some of the other games better. Like Legend of Dragoon, when you target them, it'll show a different color icon depending on how much HP is left. You know, it goes from, I think, green at the start, and then it'll be yellow if it's less than 50%, and it'll be red if it's less than 25%. But in this game, a lot of the enemies don't look human, so you can't really see when they're sagging. It's easier to tell in something like Chrono Cross, too. In that game, there we go, we got him. But yeah, it's easier to tell in that game because the enemies visually sag a little more noticeably. Maybe just all the enemies don't sag in this game. Maybe that's part of it. And with that, the final boss has been defeated.
And so, our battle came to an end. The god, awakened by human hands, was returned to sleep once again by human hands. On the morning after, a refreshing breeze blew across Wales, and the horrible events leading up to yesterday seemed like nothing more than a bad dream. Soon, it was time to say farewell to everyone. Keith, our handsome vampire, grew weary of the hustle and bustle of the outside world, and so he returned once again to his peaceful castle in Transylvania. I wonder how many centuries he'll sleep this time. Good night, and sweet dreams, dear friend. Master Zhuzhen, our brave Taoist adept, has gone back to Shanghai to mend the disruptions in the energy fields of China. You taught us so much, Master Zhuzhen. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and please, try not to overexert yourself. Our beloved spy for hire said she planned to go home to Paris, but she joked about how her next assignment was probably already waiting for her. So, there's no telling where she might be right now. Hallie, that cute little street boy we met in London, set sail from Southampton with his mother, Kodelka, to find his long-lost father in America. Finally, they'll be able to live together as a family. I pray you'll all find happiness. As for me, I'm headed for Zurich, where my mother's waiting. With Yuri, of course.
And with that, we find out what happens to the characters. And I'm sure this episode's gonna get flagged because they love flagging anything with an audio track. Or a vocal track or whatever. I don't know. No matter. So, we get to review the game. The story. I love the story. The story is a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be, coming back to this game after not having played it for 10, 15 years, whatever it was. But, you know, the interaction between the characters, which is kind of my second point, is a big part of why I love the story so much. It works with, you know, some minor little things that it does so well. The character reactions between characters like Yuri and Zhuzhen is great. The reactions at the start between Yuri and Alice, not so much, but, you know, whatever. But yeah, we get all these characters together, and even if they don't have reasons to stick around, they at least give them a slight reason, and they adjust, you know, they actually talk about it later. Like, Margaret has no reason to stick around with us past, you know, whenever, you know, I think Alice is rescued, or Yuri is rescued, or something like that. But, you know, we find out later on in the game that, well, she was going to try and make use of us, you know, to help her government. And she just decided, you know what, I like these people too much. And she kind of, you know, had a crush on Yuri. As far as the story itself, you know, Albert, you know, being this great villain that we see throughout the game, he's actually, you know, takes us out, and he's attacking us throughout the whole game. He doesn't just sit back. And technically the Metagod is the final boss, but really, you know, he's someone summoned by Albert, so it's still Albert that's kind of put everything in motion to lead us to that kind of event. I don't know, the way the story goes, it's, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. There's not really a lot of specifics to point out. It just, the way that the characters bring the plot from point to point is, it just works. It's hard to put words to. The voice acting doesn't help, that's for sure. Voice acting, for the most part, is terrible. Alice is one of the few voice actors in this game that I actually don't mind. I kind of like her voice, in fact. But other than that, everyone else just kind of doesn't work. So the voice acting is kind of crap, but it doesn't really hurt it too much because there's not too much of it. The music for this game is incredible. Yasunori Mitsuda and his other guy that worked with him, I'm so bad with names if I don't practice them ahead of time, but yeah, the music is just great. All of these songs are great. You know, this ending theme is great, the opening theme is great, the sound design and where to use specific songs, as I've talked about multiple times throughout the game, just works so well. It's very nice to have you know, these great songs, but it's even better when they're used at the appropriate spot. The battle system is great. I like the battle system. It's basically the next level of Legend of Dragoon, in my opinion, as far as button pressing when it comes to combat. And it's relatively straightforward. It's not like, they've actually improved this going into the other two Shadow Hearts games, and it's better there just because of how they designed the Judgment Ring. But here it was a great first attempt, and while they've kind of made it simpler and more complicated at the same time going forward, here was a very good introduction to the idea and playing around with the Judgment Ring. As far as gameplay goes, where we make use of the Judgment Ring outside of battle, that's where I think it kind of does a little bit of a failure. Because the game, you know, anytime we have to use it outside, it's for the shop. Well, why do I have to hit 5 rings every time I want to sell any type of item? It just takes forever that way, and it's tedious, and it's annoying, and it's just not a lot of fun. The same thing happens with things like the 10 ring. You know, the push ring every once in a while, sure, not a big deal. But having us do that stupid 10 ring that took me over an hour and a half, that's just brutal. And I'm really not a fan of game devs putting, you know, these absurdly difficult puzzles that really, it's not even so much a puzzle as it is, it's a timing minigame that goes by so fast that it's almost impossible for skill to be involved, and more something where you have to react. And finding that muscle memory and that reaction ability is very much an amount of luck, because there's no actual time for the brain to process all of the, you know, how fast the ring is going at different points. The graphics for this game, for the time, the FMVs are great. The FMVs look very good for PS2. The backgrounds, as I said early on in the game, those are, well, they're not the greatest. They were originally designed for the PlayStation 1. And then they applied 3D models for the characters and put that on over top. So, I don't know. The graphics are kind of a middling road. They don't bother me, and I find the lack of, high definition to the backgrounds works really well with both the dark look of the game and the dark themes of the game and the atmosphere that we get to experience as we go throughout the entirety of this game. Other than that, that's pretty much all that I really wanted to talk about when it comes to Shadow Hearts. It was a lot of fun to do, and as far as where it ranks with me, it moved up quite a few ranks for me from when I didn't really remember it until now. Playing through it again in my test run, playing through it again now with all of you guys. We get to see these two ride off into the sunset together.
As the warlock said in the end, even if an age of winter comes bringing the harshest hardships, I intend to live on with my new family.
And that's gorgeous, by the way. Now, she says family. I'm not sure if she's saying family because, I'm not sure why they put a bunch of this stuff here, but I'm not, I'm not sure if she's saying family as, she's now kind of together with Yuri and they're a couple, or if she's saying she's pregnant. I'm not sure. It's not particularly clear. And my controller fell asleep. So once we hit the end and the controller decides to work again, come on. Don't just hide on end, because I know there's something after this. At least I think it was after this. There we go. Do you want to save? Yes. Now, one thing of note here is after we finish up and... I'm going to use the one remaining file I have left. There we go. Press the start button. Continue. Let's load up that file that we just saved. Clear data. What we can do from here is we can skip the opening cutscene by pressing the start button. Open up our menu. We are back to level 3. However, video game. We have a new game plus that's not really advertised all that much. It gives us our fusions. It doesn't give us anything else, and we're still low level, so we still can't use a lot of these things. We don't get to keep any of our items. Oops, no. And as far as valuables go, we don't get to keep any of those either. What we do get to do is score. We get to compare our score from the previous game to our score in this game. So yeah, the last enemy, actually, can I look at that here too? Yeah, so the last enemy that I wasn't able to show you before, which was 100 exactly, was this guy, because this guy was someone we hadn't fought yet. And then we have the last two new enemies here, which are the Messiah and Metagod. And this is why we don't have access to these to unlock the black satin pants until now. Once we have access to this and we do a new game plus, which I didn't do a new game plus for the LP for obvious reasons. So once we get all the way back to post-float events again in a new game plus, that's when we'll be able to get the black satin pants. And like the the cotton white underpants that Alice was using in the boss fight. They protect against, I think, have all special damage instead of all physical damage. So there's that. But yeah, we can compare on the score if you want to. It doesn't really matter. That's the score I ended up on. Perfect ring rate was 27%, which is nowhere near enough if you've played the subsequent game. But anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to go over. That's pretty much all I had for Let's Play Shadow Hearts. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I hope I was able to convince a couple of people to either give this game a try, or at least, you know, show people a game they hadn't played before that they actually really like now. So anyway, that's all for this one. And I'll see you guys next time.